Awesome. Thanks so much. What's up, everyone? Coach Tony here. I'm from Eagle Lock College Prep. I'm doing awesome so far here today. So a little quick background so you guys know who I am, so you're not listening to a random stranger online. My name is Coach Tony. I've been in the college admission space for the last 16 years now. My start, if anyone knows where Disneyland is, that's where I grew up. I grew up there. Family of immigrants. My parents told me to go to college, figure it out. So that's kind of what I did. Figured it out. Actually got into over 30 colleges. When I applied, got top few were like UCLA, got a full ride there. UCI, got a full ride there. My parents were super happy. I did not go there. I went to Berkeley because I want to get away from my parents was the truth. Did not get a full ride. I actually paid off my loans last year too. So that's that. But went to Berkeley, loved it. As a student, I got to work with the admissions department, helped them out with like events, outreach, and presentations. And then so when I graduated, they actually invited me to be a reader with them. So a lot of the context I'll be sharing today in this session is about that. It's about the context from a reader's point of view. So what are readers? Readers are the folks that when you guys apply to the colleges, they're the ones who are going to go ahead and read your applications. They're going to be the ones who recommend yes and no to you, right? So that's kind of what they do here. So that's what I did. I read a bunch of apps, tens and thousands of apps over my time there, said yes to a lot, said no to a lot more. And doing so, you start to see trends. You start to see trends in the application space itself. So pretty much the last 16 years, what we've been doing is teaching our students, here's what the readers are looking for. That's kind of our unique angle to the admission. So the tips I'll give today, again, it might contradict a few things you probably hear online, but again, this is just coming from the context of kind of what our students do, because again, this is from the reader's point of view. Our kids actually end up going to a lot of incredible schools. This past year, our 2025 seniors, our current seniors about to be graduating very soon, they end up everywhere. They ended up at all the top UC schools, UCLA, UC Berkeley, tons of Ivy League colleges, even top like MIT, Caltech, these other schools as well too. And then pretty much it comes down to a few simple frameworks in the admissions process. As long as you get those simple frameworks kind of down, that's kind of the trick to all of this. So in this session, I would love to kind of just talk through and let you guys see where everything is at as well too. I'm gonna go ahead and make it a little more fun and interactive. We're gonna go ahead and share Google Docs. If you guys can see my screen, go ahead and drop a quick yes in the chat. And for those who are joining us live, those who are joining us from the future, welcome from the future as well too. All right, so jumping back here, let's go ahead and talk about it. So when it comes to the college admissions process, my goal is just break down again. Everyone here is probably going to go to or aiming at different colleges, so I'm trying to hit as many different opportunities as we can in this little session itself. So when it comes to the admissions process, right, we always start with the end in mind. Is kind of the first tip as well too. So for those who kind of saw my background earlier, see it now. Our company name is called Eagle Lock. Eagle Lock is actually the word college backwards. So if you flip the word Eagle Lock, is actually the word college backwards, because our goal is to help you work backwards to get to college is the thing. So again, we're really big on working smart through the entire process. So we kind of start with the end in mind. So one of the first things we always ask new families, where do you want to go, right? What colleges do you want to attend? And also what career majors do you want to apply with is the thing, because knowing these two will help us give the recommendations for everything else, right? So that's number one. Number two is the career major will tell us something called the overlays. So overlays is like an insider lingo. It's basically things that a reader is trained to look for in your application itself. So I think that's gonna be the big thing. So depending on what major you are, we're gonna talk about that. And then there's kind of three big pathways. We'll tease that up in a little bit as well. Okay, so that's kind of the first thing we always ask the students to figure out. Hey, what schools do you want to go to, and what majors are you thinking about? Let's say a student has no clue. Let's say a student has no clue about college and they're not sure what to do with colleges. So the first thing we always tell our students, right? Ignore ranking, right? Ignore ranking as well too. People always say best school for blank, best school for blank, and you're optimizing for ranking. And the question is ranking the most important part of the admissions process, right? If you told me that 15, 20, if you asked me 15, 20 years, I would argue yes, right? Because again, you go to a pretty high ranking school, you'll open up a lot more opportunities for you here, right? But something you may have noticed if you've been attending these sessions and the rest of the sessions for this event is the world's changing. The world's changing a lot, right? So is the ranking of your school the number one factor? Probably not number one anymore, right? There's people I know there we this event had a few sessions on AI. Some of these people had opportunities for career kind of pivots as well too, right? These don't relate to ranking at all. You can go to any school and still leverage these kind of opportunities to help you guys out as well. So when it comes to this, I always say rankings only do two things, or actually three things, right? One is it makes your parents allows your parents to brag. Your parents can brag to their friends is number one, right? You can brag, you can brag to your friends is number two, and it might help you with your first job, right? Because again, the ranking of the school does allow for opportunities for different career up openings as well too. So it could, but usually the first job, again, a lot of things you probably hear from this event, and as you can navigate through your career journey, is that if you're not good, the world will let you know, right? School is pretty much like a small incubator. But then school is very nice, right? So the real world will let you know if you're not good, you're not going to move too far up, even though, no matter what school you end up going to as well, right? So instead, we ask students to think about, right? Think about factors that you care about. So, what factors are you interested in, right? Usually think of this as a location. Where do you want to be? Maybe you want to go to the East Coast. Maybe you want to go to the West Coast. Maybe you want to go to the middle of nowhere, right? Maybe you want to go to a school like one of the fun schools in California, UC Santa Cruz. It's in the forest. The whole school's in a forest as well, too, versus another one, UC Santa Barbara. That school's on a beach. So it's a pretty and very fun locations here. Number two, think of like proximity, right? Proximity as well too. That's the big one as well too. Proximity. You want to stay close to home. You want to stay far from home, right? That might be a big factor. Some people need to stay near home for like family purposes. Cool. Then that kind of limits your options a little bit, and you have less schools to pick from. You want to go far. That opens it up a little more as well too. Another thing about proximity is proximity to opportunities. Again, on the theme of careers here, right? If let's say you want to work in tech, right? Silicon Valley is where tech basically thrives as well too. So going to a school, why you see so many computer science students at Stanford, at San Jose State, at Berkeley is because Silicon Valley is right there. So again, that's proximity to the opportunities is another big thing as well. Another factor to think about is class size, right? As well too. Some schools have ginormous classes, but basically public schools. Like when I went to Berkeley, my classes the first 2 years was between 100 and 400 people per class. Versus if you went to a private school, right? Like one of our coaches, Coach David, he went to the Claremont Colleges, very, very small private school. One of his classes, there was two people, him and someone else. So very, very, very small. So there's two extremes of that again. But the idea is what learning style do you learn best? And then there's tons of more factors. But the idea I always tell students is what characters do you as the student, not the parents. Again, parents can help chime in. I can help chime in, but the student is the one who's going to college, not us, not mom, not dad, not Coach Tony, right? So I think that's the big thing here, right? That's number one. Number two is what if you don't know career, right? What if you're like, "Oh, I don't know career I want to go down, right? So again, the reality, it's okay not to know, right? I work with a lot of high school age students, so between the ages like 13 to 18, right? They think they know. And I think a lot of people here who are who've gone past college into the career space as well too, right? You're laughing at these students because you're like, you don't know about life yet. You haven't experienced anything to understand it yet. That's why it's okay not to know if you're only in high school, right? The question I always tell students, what do you think you want to do, right? So instead, right, what do you think you want to do is the biggest thing over here, right? And usually it would fall under one of three pathways, right? So what I tell students instead is instead of thinking about majors, think of it in terms of pathways because realistically there's three big pathways out there. Pathway number one is going to be engineering, and computer science, right? So pretty much if anyone's thinking about like electrical engineering or data science or all these other related majors, it will fit under this pathway. Because again, if a student's interested in engineering, they're not going to be a history major. If that makes sense. So usually they will switch majors. And maybe another fun, more fun context, a fun fact here is that 80% of students will switch their majors at least once in college, right? So again, if you're gonna switch your majors, right, what you gonna switch it to? Most likely you switch it within the pathway. That's the biggest thing there. So number one is that. Number two is gonna be STEM, or I would say sciences, right? Sciences and business, right? The reason why I group these two together, even though they're kind of different as well, is the preparation in a bit. I'll talk about when it comes to the academics, they're very similar. That's why. But when it comes to the sciences and business, that's like pathway number two. Again, if your child's interested in pre-med, right, or something, they'll probably fall under pathway number two under this route here. And number three is the humanities and everything else. So pretty much anything that I didn't talk about earlier, you would fit under this massive category number three as well too. So these are pretty much the three pathways. If you can think of any major out there, you can easily put it under one of these three pathways. And the reason why we think of this way is as a high school student, you don't know exactly yet, but the preparation for all that is the same. I think that's the trick. Because if you had to memorize like 1,000 different majors, different requirements, it's too hard. But if you can break it down to only three, much easier to think about as well. Okay, so that is the college and career. So let's say we establish that, right? So we established that we want to go to X school, we want to go to X career as well. Then the next thing we want to focus on is we want to focus on there's three core pillars in the admissions process. There's going to be academics, activities, and the applications itself. These are the three core things that I think is the big key in the admissions process that you need to get right is all, right? So starting first with the academics, right? When it comes to academics, I'm gonna do a huge myth buster right now. Do not look too hard into GPA. This is one of the biggest things I think a lot of families and everyone is trained to do based on society as well. It was always compared GPAs, GPA this, GPA that. How do I increase my GPA, right? If that was the answer, if you are optimizing for that, shouldn't only the 4.8s and 4.9s be the only ones who get into college, right? And if you look around, that's actually not the case at all. We have students not with a 4.8 who still get in. So why are we optimizing for the highest GPA when that's not the real thing that we're looking for? This is where our kind of approach kind of kicks in a little bit. Because as a reader, I just looked at that, I moved on. I didn't spend too much time looking at it. So, but all these kids are kind of focusing so much energy on an area that I just glanced through, right? So instead, what did I, as a reader, spend more time looking at? Two other things. Instead, focus on, right, grade trends and academic rigor. So these are the two things that instead of the GPA, I'd focus more on the grade trends and the rigor itself. So let's talk about grade trends, right? So when it comes to grade trends, this is basically the story of your grades over time. I want to know over time, what can I tell about your grades is the key. Okay. And then what we want is we want one of two things. I call it a high plateau, right? Which means your grades stay high the entire time, right? This is awesome. The second one is the upward trend, right? Or I call the Nike swoosh, right? It means your grades go down and went back up again as well too, right? So the high plateau is awesome. It shows you're able to sustain your high academic performance over time. Number two, the upward trend is also very good because it shows the colleges you hit adversity. You had a challenge, but you took the steps to figure it out because if you didn't figure out, your grades would stay the same, right? So you did something to your grades. That's why it started going up. That's the key here. Okay. So that's what we want. What we don't want a low plateau. We don't want to keep our grades low. We also don't want to do a downward trend of the grades as well. Keeping in mind one more thing to kind of put out there. B's are not bad grades, man. So many of our students who are A, especially the Ivy bound students, they're thinking 1B is going to be the end of the world for them. It is not the end of the world for you. We have a bunch of students. If you guys don't believe it, check out our YouTube. We interview a bunch of our students every single year. Look up Eagle Lock on YouTube and College Backwards on YouTube. And then you'll see that our students have A's and B's and they still make it to the Ivy. So it's not like you need a perfect 4.0. Again, I'm not saying don't do it if you can, right? But don't stress out if that's the only thing you're freaking out about in your grade. So B's are not bad grades. Of course, try to have as many A's as you can so that will definitely help us out here, right? But the most important thing is going to be the academic rigor. Academic rigor is probably the most important part of the entire admissions process because one of the big things that readers are trying to understand is, are you going to be okay at our college, right? One thing a lot of people don't tell students is that college is hard. It's not hard just to get in, which it is. It's hard to stay in. If you look it up, look at the attrition rates, right? No school has 100%. Every school will drop out students and they will kick out students along the 4 years, right? Because of that, right? Not everyone's going to make it. As a college, they want 100 because they want everyone to make it through as well too. Because again, if you don't make it through, you are in a sad position. Your parents are a little sad. The colleges don't get your tuition. They get a little sad. So it's a lose, lose, lose for that, right? Versus if you're able to get in and graduate, right? Everyone wins in that situation as well too. So as a reader, what I'm looking for is, are you going to be okay? A lot of our students are aiming for these top schools, but their application doesn't reflect it. You're like, hey, I want to go to Harvard, but I'm scared to take a hard class. I only want to take easy classes. And I always tell students, what do you think is going to happen once you get there to the Harvard? Let's say say you get in. You say you get in. Are you going to be okay? Because there's a reason why Harvard kids are Harvard, right? And I think the more you talk to students, the more you understand the kids who end up at Ivies is not accident. You didn't accidentally end up at an Ivy, right? And the students who end up at certain schools, not saying good or bad, but you reflect with the school that you kind of got into as well too. I think that's just how colleges kind of work. So when it comes here, the big thing is, are you going to be okay at college? A lot of our students like to aim for top 100 colleges. That's kind of the thing that we help a lot of our families with, right? So to aim for one of the top 100, top 50, top 25, right? So what we do is like, because of that, the strategy, here's the strategy to take away. The strategy, you want to match the top student at your school. Admissions is regional, meaning they're going to compare you against your classmates as well too at your school. So the tip here, just match your school. There's no magical number. There's no like hit this, you're good. Just match it against your school and you should be good, again, relatively good here, right? That's kind of the big trick here. And when it comes to this is the honors level courses. Think honors, think advanced classes, think AP. These are advanced placement courses, IB, international baccalaureate classes, and also CL college level courses as well too. So these are all extra levels of rigor because again, if a college is like, wow, you're doing this, you are doing great, then I have faith that you'll be fine once you get to the schools as well too. Okay, so that's gonna be the academic rigor component. So that's the big thing that we want through all this. One more quick thing is the overlays. Let's talk about the overlays since I brought it up earlier. So this because let's talk about careers, right? Like I mentioned, there's kind of three pathways up there. There's engineering, computer science, sciences and business, and there is humanities and everything else. So what's the overlay for each one? The first one, right? And the reason I put it in this order is number one has the most things to do. Number two has less. Number three has less than that. So the idea is if you're thinking about, if you're unsure what your major is, I always tell our students, aim for the top. Aim for like starting from the top going down because let's say you don't know, let's start you in engineering. Let's have you taste it. Let's have you try it. You're going to be like, nope, I do not like this. Then you drop down to science business. It's much easier to go that way than go the opposite way around. If you're a history major, you're like, you know what, I want to be an engineer as a junior, much harder to make that flip than going from like an engineer to like history. That's the like easier flip to do. So the overlay for engineering computer science is strong math and strong physics, right? Strong physics. And then this is like actually very strong. I'll say very strong math, right? So because the reason why is that usually with most high schools, you cap out a calculus. What we usually have our students doing now, we're sending them off to the community colleges to take higher level math, multivariable calculus, linear algebra, differential equation, discrete math, even higher than you can at the actual high school itself, right? So that's that physics, AP physics, 1, 2, C, E, all the numbers and others. Doing that is the overlay here. When it comes to the sciences and business, I will say strong math here. And then for science, right, is the strong biological biosciences. Right, strong math means try to get to Calc BC at the minimum. Right, some of our students, especially from more competitive areas, we even have them take multivariable, even though they don't need it. It's kind of overkill. It's going to help you out a little bit more here. And then when it comes to sciences, you want to go ahead and take strong biological sciences as well too, like the bio classes, the chem classes as well. Okay, so that's to be that. Humanities, right, is as many honors APs as you can, as you can, right? So basically, there's no specific overlays. Again, depends on what things you're doing, but there's no specific overlays for the humanities. You just gotta do the max rigor that you can, and you should be good to go here. Okay, so that's the overlays. Now moving on, right? So that's the first half. Low spoilers though. Academics is a spoilers, right? Academics is the least important part of the admissions process today. Right? What does that mean? Right? So this is the one thing you hear a lot of families talk all about, like focusing on grades, on test scores, and APs, all these kind of different things. But this is the least important factor. Why is it the least important? Because in today's world, everyone is smart. Right? Back in the day, when I applied, I was smart enough. I got in. We're fine. Now, if I submit my stats what I had back in high school, I would not make it anywhere close to where I did as well too, because it's just so much more competitive in today's world. So when it comes to academics, everyone could look the same. As a result, this is the least important fact. It's almost like a check mark now, rather than a bragging point. It's cool. You did what you needed to do. It's number one. Okay. Then the next piece after this is going to be the activities. This is more important, I will say, than the academics. So when it comes to academics, this is more important than the academic itself. The big thing I look at when it comes to activities is the hours. You want to optimize for hours per week. Right. It's an interesting metric that if you never heard of it before, you're like, wait, what's that as well too, right? So that's the biggest thing. So what we try to do is try to optimize for the hours per week. Typically, there's a few kind of groups, right? If you're aiming for like let's say regular colleges, right? You want to aim for around, let's say, 15 to 20 hours per week of activities per week. And you're like, holy moly, Coach Toy's a lot of hours, right? Not really a lot of hours if you count up, right? The number of hours you have in a week. Let's actually do some quick math so you guys can see how it is, right? And this is a good lesson for everyone out here as well too, right? So in a typical week, right? Typical week, you guys have what, 168 hours per week, which is what, the 24 hours times 7 days a week, right? You should be spending 56 hours sleeping, right? We should. Students who are not sleeping definitely sleep as well too, right? You should be spending what, 30 hours in school. That's a six times five there. 15 hours on homework, right? That's 3 hours a day times 5 days a week. That's there. You do the math, I think. Oh, and then I always add 14 hours of me time. I call it me time means, again, our students run really hard. If you don't take a mental break, you're going to burn out. So I tell our students, you have to take that mental time. This is the TikTok scrolling, Netflix watching, playing video games, scrolling your phone, whatever it is, right? This is the big thing you got to do to decompress as well too. You do the math here. There's still 53 hours left in a week, right? I think my math is right. There's 53 hours left in a week. So from that 53, you're telling me you can't find 15 hours that you can spend on activities is the thing, right? And activities is not just school related, it's anything you do. Hobbies counts as an activity. That as part of things. Your commute time that you go to your activities counts as part of your activity hours as well, too, right? So that's kind of the thing here. If you're aiming for, let's say, top 25 to 50 colleges, right? So this is like the UCLA's of the world and stuff. 20 to 30 hours is what we usually have our students focus on. And if you're aiming for Ivy and Ivy plus colleges, like the top 25 colleges here, our students have 30 plus hours per week of activities. And that's kind of the metrics. Again, I'm not saying you have to hit these numbers at all in any way, but this is what our students do. And if our students are doing that and they're getting in, maybe you want to copy it as well too. So that's the big thing here, right? So what activities can you do or should you do? I think when it comes to activities, we tell our students there's two buckets. There's two buckets of activities, right? Two buckets of activities as well. The first bucket, I call it tasting tasting your major, right? It's the first bucket. The second bucket is called tasting your major. Second one is your the what makes the student happy, right? Is number two, right? So what does that mean? First thing, tasting your major, right? Tasting your major. This means do things that allows me as a reader to see what you're interested in your major. So if you say I'm interested in computer science, I'm like, awesome. If I looked at your activities, right? If I looked at your activities, can I tell that you're X major, right? Is the key here, right? So that's what you want to demonstrate your major interest is through your activities. There is no right or wrong list. There is no here's the magical list of stuff. You will hear a lot of stuff like, oh, my child needs research or summer programs or internships. Watch our success stories. Most of our kids don't have any of these and they still make it into all these top schools. So it's not the thing that gets you in, it's the why. Why are you doing what you're doing, right? And then the stuff. So that's basically the first one, tasting your major itself. That should be about half the bucket as well too. And why do I use the word taste? Because a lot of our students feel like if they do it, they have to commit fully to this major as well. I have a fun little case study real fast as well too. So case study here. I had a student. We actually interviewed her. If you check out our YouTube, just look up like Eagle Lock UPenn. You'll probably find her interview. We met her as a ninth grader. She joined us. She was a computer science student, right? Computer science, gung ho, and coding and all that fun stuff. And then she's one of our 25 seniors, so she's graduating in like 2 months. And she gone to UPenn, right? Literally one of the top business schools in the US. Actually, the top business school in the US as well too, right? And what she got into Wharton, she got in as a dual major business and nursing. And you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Didn't you say she was a computer science major? And I was like, yep, because what ended up happening is we told her, what do you like ninth grade? She said, I like computer science. I'm like, love it. Do more of that. And then 10th grade, I was like, okay, what do you like to do? She's like, I think I want to try business. I'm like, go for it. Go try business. She tasted business. As she tasted business, she started to like business. She's like, ooh, this is fun. So her thing was more business and computer science. Then I think towards the end of that year, she had another like taste moment. Hey, this thing sounds cool. I'm like, cool, taste it, right? And as you're tasting it, she's like, wait, I like this healthcare stuff more. So her app, you can look at it, it evolved and it went through everything perfectly, right? It went through my starting in the highest one and she moved down to this one, right? Easy peasy, right? She went from a computer science student as a ninth grader, she ended up getting accepted to like a very, very competitive dual program for nursing and business, right? Which is actually was what she's gonna end up doing as well too. So I think that it's okay. So I think the reason it's okay to change. It's okay to change your mind on things, right? And I think that's something a lot of students need that reassurance. That's okay to switch and okay to change as well too. So that's the big thing over here. Okay, so that first half is take your major. The other half, though, I call it is what makes the student happy. And here is the thing that most people get wrong. This is how you stand out in admissions. People think, oh, for me to stand out with a computer science, I need to build the next Facebook. I need to intern at Google or Facebook. I need to write a fancy research paper with an MIT professor. No, 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 because I bet you people already have done that, right? People are already doing that as well too. So when it comes to trying to, it's playing a game that you can never win because there's always someone doing something similar to that when you think it stands out, not anymore. I think I've been pretty jaded. I've read so many apps. I read over tens of thousands as a reader. I read thousands more as working with so many families the last 16 years that no story really like wows me anymore. Oh, my child did this for your family, it's a very wow moment. I appreciate that. Like, I embrace that. But for me, I've read that similar story many, many times, right? So the thing that you're doing is not is going to help you stand out. What you stand out is the second part. What makes your student happy? Because let's say, for example, your child likes dance, right? So then you can say, hey, my child is smart, good GPA. They are also did the computer science stuff. They're doing hackathons. They're coding stuff, they're building stuff on GitHub and all that stuff as well too. but they also do dance. Wait, no, they do dance and they're in scouts. Oh, they're doing dance and they're in scouts and they have a hobby for building fidget toys. I was like, oh, that's cool. So you see how like then and the thing is, it's that unique aspect of it because it's not one thing that helps you stand out. It's the mixture of everything together that makes you stand out. Because again, if everyone's doing the same thing, then everyone's looking the same. But if you're a little different, then I was like, ooh, what's that? Right? What are they doing that's a little different as well too? And I think for me is it's that combination, it's that mixture of everything else because the way you stand out is to be you. People make it too complicated as well too. I'm like, again, the more you embrace who you are, that's the real trick. Like again, I think there's a lot of college admission people. If you guys click on, by the way, click on my website, you probably get hit by ads by everyone in the industry because the algorithm knows right that you might be interested in college admissions. So you're gonna get hit with a bunch of college admission people who are gonna hit your feed as well too because our parents complain that as well too, right? But if I told you guys, cool, college admissions, there's a lot. There's a lot of people out there. If I told you guys college admissions that focuses on getting kids in the top 100 colleges, there's less. There's less, but it's still a lot. It's still a very massive group as well too. If I told you guys people who college admissions top 100 that they focus in California families that gets even smaller. Ooh, right, we're getting smaller and smaller. And if I told you guys, and a few fun facts about Coach Tony first, I like pro wrestling, I love Pokemon cards, right? So if I told you guys college admission counselors who focus on top 100 colleges, who are work mainly with families in California, who has a really cool mohawk, right? Who loves wrestling, who loves Pokemon cards, you dwindle down to just me. I'm the only one, to my knowledge, who does all those things in that combination. So when you're wanting to stand out, you literally stand out. Right? If you just do the same, I'm me code because other kids are coding. Let me do this summer camp because other people are doing summer camp. You're doing the same things as everyone else. You're just a copycat of a lot of people. So how you stand out is just be you. Do things, and how you do things is don't do things related to your major because everyone's doing that. Do things outside your major, right? Outside what you do. That is what sets you apart from everyone else. That's the second key part here. Okay. And to wrap it up real fast, last section is the applications for those of you who have juniors. Currently, right now, this is right around the corner for you guys. A few quick tips to help you guys maximize it. This is the most important part of your entire application, application itself, right? The reason why, part of entire admissions process, right? Because this is why you see kids with really strong grades, you see kids with really strong activities who still get rejected to admission. So it's not just the academics or activities anymore. What's the missing link? It's not that, it's their essays. Their essays are the big difference of it. So when it comes to the essays, two quick tips for you guys, right? Number one, right? Number one is you're gonna go ahead and I use the word essays, right? Do not write it like an essay, right? That's not how readers are trained. Readers don't train to read your essays. We want to learn who you are, as a person. I think that's one of our keys here, right? So that's the body, aka the body. Go straight to the body, no hook, no intro, no conclusion. Go straight to the body as fast as you can. Second quick tip for you guys, right? If you're applying to law schools, they use the personal statement, right? Personal statement as well too. Personal statement has the word personal. Personal means the student. A lot of our students are too humble. They talk about mom and dad and coach and teammates. As a reader, respectfully, I do not care about mom, dad, coach, teammates, or anyone else. I only care about the student. So you want to focus on the student the entire time. There is never a need to bring anyone else in because that's not that. That's not you. Yeah, that's someone else, right? So a good tactical tip here is that every sentence, right, use the words I, me, or my in every sentence. If you do that, you force yourself to talk only about yourself the entire time too. What makes this really hard for students is that in school, they're trained never to use I, me, my in anything. I think that's the trick. That's the hard part for students here. And I'll throw one bonus tip. Number three, this is probably the biggest tip I have for you guys, right? Is structure. When it comes to structure, what you want to do, I call it the 30-70 rule. right? What most students tend to do, which is again a huge mistake, they tend to tell a big story. As humans, we tell stories. If I told you guys, like, think about when you were 5 years old, boom, a story popped into your head, not a word, a story, right? If I told you guys success, boom, a story. If I told you guys the word career, boom, a story popped up. Not a word, not a person, a story. And that's how our brains are wired. Our brains are wired on stories. So what students do is they just tell stories, a lot of stories on their essays. And that's not what readers care about. Because again, how many other people have the same story? You played soccer. How many other kids played soccer? You built a coding thing. How many other kids built a coding thing, right? So a lot of things can be replicated the same, but you just need to know enough of it. So the 30% of your prompts is tell me the story just enough to understand what's going on, just to understand, just enough for context, right? But here is the key: 70% of your prompt, right? You want to answer 3 questions. You want to answer: why did you do what you did, right? How did it make you who you are? And who have you become as a result? Because there's your story about soccer. Again, everyone has the same story, but why you did that is unique only to you. No one can copy your why. Number 2 is how. How has it made you who you are? Again, that's about you. No one can change how you are. And number 3 is who have you become? That's you. This is uncopyable because that's you. If you talk about the story, people can have the same stories. But if you talk about yourself, no one can copy that because that is only you as the big key. I think that's the trick of these college essays that most students just do them wrong. Not saying again they're not good, they just do them wrong. So it doesn't give the readers context. And from a reader's point of view, I am trying to help you, but you need to help the reader help you. If that makes sense. So you got to give them enough information for them to say yes to your application itself. Okay. Mara, I think we are at a very nice stopping point. I'll see if there's questions. If not, I have a few prepared questions as well too to help you guys out as well. So
Tony, we'll go ahead and wait for a few seconds to see if somebody asks a
sure.
question here. I just submitted it in the chat. So, Nayeli, you've been with us a few times and you're a counselor at Cal State Northridge. Do you have any questions for Tony? Okay. So Nayeli has a question, but I believe she's able to unmute. She wanted to, I believe, use the audio. So I'm asking
Sure.
her to ask. There it is right there, Tony. You see it in the chat?
I do. So the question out loud is in the aspect of personal statement, what if the student believes they have no story? So this is a silly comment as well too. Not silly. The students always say, I hear this a lot too, so that's why I say it's a silly comment. Because I would say, no, you've lived a lot of stories in your life as well too. So here's how we actually help our students kind of brainstorm. Because again, we run to this issue every single year of helping our students figure out. They're like, I have nothing to write about. And I'm like, you've lived life, so you've definitely done something, right? So here's kind of our framework when it comes to picking writing the topics itself too. So here's our little framework when it comes to writing it. The first step I always tell students to think about is going to be pick your activities or share all activities, experiences, and identities that you belong to, right? Meaning, tell me everything you done in high school, right? Tell me every experience that you remember, and then it's quite quick. Don't try to hunt for it. Like it has to like pop up. If it doesn't pop up, then it's not that important, right? And number 3, identities that you belong to as well too. List them all out for me, right? And the students will list out a big list for me. I'm like, cool, I've done these things. I've did had these experiences. Here's my identity. So I'm like, awesome. Then I always tell the student, I'm like, hey, as a person, right? You are shaped by all this. Meaning, if you never, let's say you play soccer, right? Let's say you never touched a soccer ball, would life be different? And for some things, the answer is yes, hugely, because that's my life. Or some people, no, not really. It kind of, but not really, right? What I'm telling the students to figure out is what's the biggest one. Meaning, if I didn't do this one thing, you wouldn't be where you're at today. Means you'll be a different person. Not saying a bad person, just a different person. For those who watch Marvel, right? It's like the multiverse, right? When you watch Loki, the show, I say if you pulled out a strand, you'd go down a different strand down this way. That's kind of the same logic. What would shift your life completely to a different version of you if you never did this thing or never had this experience or never belonged to this identity? You have the student list out top 4 or 5, right? Is what it is as well too. In that order, it means what's the first thing? Oh, soccer, got it. Can't talk about soccer. What's something not related to soccer that's on this list now? That's your number 2, number 3, number 4. Now, perfect. We have a list of them. Then each list, I tell them, cool. Now tell me that I call it story time, right? Story time. When you said the word soccer, in your brain, there's a story that could kick in your head, right? Tell me that story in 10 seconds. And that's on purpose, right? Because as humans, we're gonna ramble forever, right? But tell me in 10 seconds, means the students has to condense the story really short, because again, that's not the main point. Only 30%, right? Really short. Then once they tell you the story, and this is something good for like a mentor can help as well too, or like someone else. We call it dig deep. It's a term we started using a few years back. Dig deep. What you want to do is like a shovel. You want to keep digging deeper, deeper, deeper. I call it the annoying 5-year-old. They said, "Hey, soccer was important to me. I remember my team passed it to me, and I kicked the shot, and we won, and I celebrated. We won the championship." I'm like, "Awesome, that's a story." Now let's dig deep one layer, right? Layer, why was that so important to you? And the student will answer the question. It was cool. Like people celebrated me. I don't get celebrated a lot. I'm like, oh, interesting. Why don't you get celebrated a lot? Oh, I don't know. Maybe growing up, it was just me and my parents. Oh, interesting. Tell me more about that. What do you mean by that? Oh, I grew up an only child. Oh, gotcha. Tell me about parents. Oh, they worked all the time. Oh, interesting. Oh, so and you start poking through his hole, and then let's say we keep poking it, and what the eventual aha moment was is maybe you enjoy soccer so much because it gives you like the feeling of brothers, right, on the field, and you've never had before. Maybe you've always been the one being taken care of, and now you're taking care of your team as well too, because now the team is trusting you and making that final shot, right, as well too. And you love that pressure. That's the leadership kicking out of you. Oh, so we went from a soccer prompt all the way down to a leadership prompt of like, hey, you stepping up as a leader because of your upbringing, right, as well too. And that's why this, you see now, that's your why. That's the deeper thing right here. And that's what we pull out of the student. The story is irrelevant, by the way. That's all. The story itself, this first part, you don't really talk about it. Because then, and if you're still stuck, if we're still talking about soccer, we're not there yet. There's something deeper than that. And then this is something when I tell students when it comes to activities, do stuff you enjoy and do stuff you love to do. Don't do things that look good for college. This is where you pull it out. Because again, if you're working with students, they get stuck. When they get stuck, I'm like, oh, real talk. You probably did this to look good for college, huh? They're like, yeah, let's pick a different topic because that's not going to go too deep for us, right? But as long as students did stuff because they truly cared about it, they want to do it, that's the true takeaway of this here. Did that answer that question for you? Did I help a little bit? And then to complete the final thing, you then once you have their dig deep, then you find the prompt because you're able to find a prompt that allows them to talk about that thing, right? So we don't start the prompt first because they get pigeonholed. So we start with their answer. Let's find a prompt. Oh, leadership. There's a leadership prompt. Let's use that. Boom, and then we just share that. So it's much easier for us. That's how our students crank it out real quick that way as well too. There, and then right.
Any
Cool.
last minute
Any other?
questions, Sundar? I know you just joined here. If you have a question, please submit now. Otherwise, we're going to wrap up right now. Tony, I want to thank you for, there it is right there. Okay, gotcha. Tony, thank you so much for everything. I really appreciate it. I learned so much. I think one of the points that stood out to me the most was how students can stand out by highlighting who they are besides just the academic classes. I think in working in recruitment and in career development for college students and looking at resumes, we tell people to also highlight in their resume how to stand out besides just being a software engineer. Who are you?
Hmm.
What do you do? What's your passion? What's your purpose besides just work? So that really hit home. And I think that's a critical element that we can share with students. So thank you so much for that.
Of
Guys, we'll
course.
go ahead and wrap up. Another round of applause for Tony Lee. Tony, thank you so much. We'll be in contact. And again, everybody, thank you so much.